Welcome back to Ready Player None, the only podcast about Ready Player One, probably. I didn't actually look it up. You joined us at the start of Chapter 2. Our story so far, teenager Wade Watts, living in poverty, finds an escape in the Oasis, and he's one of a group of gunters, a bunch of obscure weirdos still looking for the lost legacy of a computer programmer, which he hid in an Easter egg in his most successful Second Life. It's Second Life, isn't it? Can we say Second Life? Literally all that's happened so far is Wade reveals he's come from a poor and abusive upbringing. He climbed down a stack, got into an abandoned van where he hides out, and logged into the Oasis. Our action in progress in Chapter 2. So Wade's avatar rematerializes in a high school. He opens his locker to find a picture of Princess Leia posing with a blaster pistol, a group photo of the members of Monty Python in their Holy Grail costumes, James Halliday's Time magazine cover, and a stack of textbooks which he taps and puts them into his avatar's item inventory. And he's also got a bunch of MMO basic items that he seems to have bought using the Oasis credit. Oh, using the Oasis credit. Is that what it's called? Which is one of the world's most stable currencies, valued higher than the dollar, pound, euro, or yen. Alright. We find out that Wade's avatar, Parzival, looks just like him, but smaller nose, taller, thinner, more muscular, no teenage acne. But apart from this, more or less identical. Yeah, okay. Okay, so here's something that is probably completely irrelevant, but I just want to pick up on. So, his name's Parzival. Your name in the Oasis has to be unique. Nobody else in the Oasis ever can have the same username, because it also happens to be your email address and your chat ID. But it also says celebrities had been known to pay huge sums of money to buy an avatar name they wanted from a cyber squatter who had already reserved it. A bit like Twitter. What are the celebrities of the future? Because my thing so far with this is the pop culture is by and large from the 20th century, and admittedly when it was written they were only 10 years into the 21st century. What is a 2040 celeb apart from James Halliday? You know, who else is out there in this global economic energy crisis? Anyway, we find that Wade's first Oasis avatar was named Wade_the_great, but he changed it to Parzival when he became a gunter. Gunter. Yes, it is explicitly Percival, as in Percy, but Parzival, he claims, because it was a unique spelling. I just think he wanted a name with a cool Z in the middle. Okay? We find out here that users of the Oasis, all their personal data is securely stored by gregarious simulation systems. So if you're in the Oasis, you can't tell who another person is other than their username. You don't know who's behind the computer, and apparently neither can GSS's own employees. Students weren't allowed to use their avatar names while they were at school. This was to prevent teachers from having to say ridiculous things like, "Pimp Grease, please pay attention," or "Big Wang 69, would you stand up and give us your book report?" Another probable Chekhov's gun to be fired later is that avatars in the Oasis are moved around using hand movements, and should the hands be occupied, voice commands. Wade graduates in a few months, and since he's not going to afford going to college, his grades aren't good enough for a scholarship, and that he doesn't want to sign a 5-year indenturement contract with a corporation, he wants to become a full-time gunter. At some point, gunter will become a less funny word to me. But not yet. It turns out you can also mute your fellow students should they start hurling abuse at you for not having the up-to-date Fortnite skins, which, yes, Ernest Cline, I also went to school, and that would have been a nice thing to have. I agree. Well done. We find out Wade has poor social skills in the real world, especially in school, but that he has no problem with socializing in the Oasis, which, I don't know, I suppose it's the sort of anonymous mask type of thing, but if your virtual reality has so far been established to be indistinguishable from actual reality, at what level do you not have the social skills to do things in real life when you're doing exactly the same things PvP, as it were? Also, sidebar, Wade considers girls to be an exotic alien species, both beautiful and terrifying. So, I hate him. I do not like him. Okay, so we learn that Wade went to school in real life until 6th grade, at which point the real public school system, the underfunded one, allowed him to transfer to the Oasis public school system, which is not constrained by money or the laws of physics. The schools are all identical because the buildings are copied and pasted around. Every school was a grand place of learning, with polished marble hallways, cathedral-like classrooms, zero-G gymnasiums, and virtual libraries containing every school board-approved book ever written. I keep thinking of this as a young adult book. I'm not so sure that that's still correct, but this is certainly the magic school part of the young adult story cycle. Wade keeps describing his real self as fat, which I think is odd considering he seems to scale buildings and dodge paedophiles. Alright, hang on. So, if the Oasis school system is unconstrained by poor funding, who pays all the Oasis teachers, and how are they paid any differently to real-life teachers? Wade's homepage on his web browser is called The Hatchery, and it's a Gunter message board forum. The Hatchery's site interface was designed to look and operate like an old pre-internet dial-up bulletin board system, complete with the screech of a 300 baud modem during the login sequence. Very cool. No, Wade, that sounds very bad, actually. I mean, I can appreciate the aesthetic, but it all comes down to, oh, remember things from when I was young? Weren't they better? Okay, I swear this book's just coming up with enough stupid jargon just to make me angry. Wade's favourite message threads are devoted to bashing the Sux0rs. The Sux0rs are employees of Innovative Online Industries, or IOI. The IOI is the world's largest internet service provider. They're trying to take over GSS through a loophole in Halliday's will. IOI has a department in the company called the Oology division? Oology? Might be oology. Is oology a real life word? And if so, how is it pronounced? Oology. Okay, real life word. Oology is a real life word meaning the science of studying bird eggs. I looked that up. But IOI's version of oology is the science, which is presented even in quote marks in the book, of searching for the Halliday's Easter egg. So, we've got the Sux0rs from IOI's Oology division. IOI wants to start charging people a monthly fee for accessing the Oasis and getting rid of the user anonymity and free speech and so on. It will ruin the Oasis and will destroy escapism forever. So IOI's own Gunters, which they call Oologists, have to use their employee numbers as their Oasis avatar names. These numbers are 6 digits in length, beginning with 6. So they were called Sux0rs. They were called Sux0rs. And let me just read this to you. These days, most Gunters refer to them as the Sux0rs, open bracket, because they suck, closed bracket. And by the way, Sux0rs, yes, that does have a 0 instead of an O in the middle. Let's get this perfect. The Gunters call IOI's Oologists Sux0rs because they're Sux0rs that suck. So the Gunters want to 86 the Sux0rs, who I remind you are employees of a company that want to monetize the Oasis. All the Sux0rs look completely alike using the same avatar as per corporate policy. It's very much a commentary on corporate homogeneity, isn't it? It's like, oh, the big corporation wants everyone to look and act the same, right? And that's bad, because you know what's good? Stuff you remember from 40 years ago. That's good. Oh, I'm not liking where this is going. So I nearly called him Parzival. One of Wade's other favourite websites is Artie's Missives, the blog of a female gunter named Artemis, with a 3 in the middle. Artemis writes about her own exploits trying to find the Easter egg and so on, which she calls a maddening MacGuffin hunt. Now, MacGuffin. If you've got the self-awareness to call your main plot device a MacGuffin, maybe don't do that in the story? I don't know. Wade goes into uncomfortable detail about his crush on Artemis. We're given the description of a raven-haired avatar with a unnaturally perfect face, which didn't look as though it had been selected from a beauty drop-down menu, but had the distinctive look of a real person's. He goes into a body. Poor choice of phrasing. In the Oasis, you usually saw one of 2 body shapes on female avatars: the absurdly thin yet wildly popular supermodel frame, or the top-heavy, wasp-waisted porn starlet physique, which looked even less natural in the Oasis than it did in the real world. Don't like that. So we go from strange body shaming via virtual reality to gay panic, as Wade can't bear to think that the idea that Artemis's player is some middle-aged dude named Chuck with back hair and male pattern baldness. I wonder how much of this is supposed to be relatable stuff and how much is supposed to be completely unsympathetic. A little bit more on Artemis and what she's writing about here. Lately writing about John Hughes movies, which makes our second John Hughes reference so far in the first 36 pages. And then, as Wade's sitting at his desk waiting for class to start, he gets this instant message window pop up in the corner of his vision. I'm also hoping this isn't going to become a recurring feature because it's written out like a script, and I'm just thinking of Homestuck. Now. Wade's best friend, brackets only friend, is called H, which is spelled A-E-C-H. I'm unsure on how these people are speaking. H says, "Top of the morning, amigo." Bit of a blend there between the stereotypes. Parzival replies, "Hola, compadre." When asked what he's up to, Parzival says he's just surfing the turf, but H has got something called the basement online and invites him to come and hang out before school, fool. I'm not sure this is how anyone ever spoke. So the chapter ends with Wade closing the IM window, realizing he's got a half an hour till class, and logging out and aiming for H's own chat room, which I'm assuming he's going to sort of virtually teleport to. So what have we learned in this chapter? What has progressed in this chapter? Wade gone to school. Wade has gone to school. That's all he's done. He's walked down the corridor. There was a bully. He muted the bully. He sat down, read the web, had an uncomfortable crush on a stranger, and now he's gonna go hang out with his bud. And that's what you might call chapter 2. We found out today that Wade is a socially maladjusted young man and our hero. Oh, I haven't got anything big and good to say. It's a chapter where nothing happened and Wade had a very poor attitude towards women, which I'm assuming are going to be recurring themes. We'll have a look in future episodes. Till then, I've been Gherkin. You can find me on Twitter at The Last Gherkin, Tumblr The Last Gherkin, YouTube The Last Gherkin, where you can watch this with subtitles, or listen online at thelastgherkin.podbean.com. Till next time, go surf the turf, amigo. Okay, I swear this book is just coming up with enough stupid jargon